Okay, so I just realized I forgot something really important in my its nature video. So this might be a part two to the nature part. I think this is a very good question to ask about the nature of insecurity, and it's this: is it sinful? Is it sinful? What do you think? I think we use the word like it is, in part because we use the word wrongly. I feel like I've been in a number of groups that when we're praying over people or a person or whatever, we might ask God to heal them of insecurity or, which actually is that's a great way to phrase it. Well, basically I'll just say I feel like we use the word to label a sin very often, especially the one of self-loathing, self-deprecation, depressiveness. But here's a wild one. I don't think it's sin. I don't think insecurity is sin. And here's why. I would say every person as a child is insecure. And logically so. You can't even think very well about who you are. Your brain is not even able to answer abstract concepts about who you are. It sort of has to slowly come together as you age and as you learn. So I think it's actually a wonderful. I don't think a kid is in sin because he doesn't know who he is yet, right? That's a silly thought. So insecurity itself is not a sin, but what it is, it's something that should be resolved in time. That we should grow out of it and become less and less insecure and more secure as the answer of who am I? What about me is solved, and no one else can. Someone can say something differently, and it doesn't affect who I am. I might actually not act consistently with this, but it doesn't affect who I am. That can be resolved, right, over time. So if you're 30 years old and you struggle hardcore with insecurity, I don't call that sin. I just think, well, it's a type of a boyishness or a type of girlishness that needs to be healed, you know, and it needs to happen soon. You know, the sooner the better, because that needs to grow out of us. So insecurity is not sin. However, its effects tend to be very sinful, I think. So when insecurity takes place and you have negative views about yourself and you get into the state of frantically seeking stability and reevaluating the question of who you are, if you believe negative things about yourself, then you tell yourself really damaging stuff. You can. That is trashing the image of God in you. A type of sin, I would say. Similarly, if you get into the insecure state and the thing that you're going to answer and bring a sense of resolution about who you are is very fleshly, very self-confident, conspicuously absent of God, then it becomes pride, right? It becomes just an exercise in pride to reestablish a sense of security. That's sin. This is the second video. Yeah, so as I'll mention in the next video, oh gosh, I just realized that you probably haven't seen the its effects. I just did the effects video and realized I had to come back and do this. So, I'll mention in the next video that the effects of insecurity often involve not just a clamorous reevaluation of who you are, and the way you answer that question can be very sinful. It can also be very God-honoring, by the way. If you are going to God to ask Him to tell you who you are, if you're going to the Bible to learn about who you are, that can be a wonderful occasion for intimacy and closeness with you and the Father. Okay, so and the other effects would be anxiety and worry. I'll talk about that in the next video. No question, those are sin. Jesus, read Matthew chapter 6. He's not too keen on us being anxious. We're supposed to do everything with thanksgiving. How many times does Paul say that in his letters? With everything. Give thanks in prayer and supplication. And then the last one is, it leaves you very prone to being misled, right? Which, being misled is not a sin, but being misled leads to sin like crazy. And that's certainly the case for Eve. 2 Timothy 1:11-14 talks about Eve was deceived first and became a transgressor. Hebrews 3:13 talks about exhort, encourage one another every day so that you would not be hardened by the deceitfulness of sin. The thief comes to steal and kill and destroy. Satan's the father of all lies, John 8:44. So just lies are God's enemy's specialty. And so to be in a state where you're susceptible to being misled leads to easily being deceived and therefore falling into sin through that deception. So in short, I would say if you want to understand part of the nature and the essence of insecurity, I would say it is not itself a sin. But when it is present in our soul, we can respond in ways that have a strong tendency to be sinful. But we also have the ability to respond to insecurity in ways that are crazy wonderful, and I bet God delights in. How much He as our Father would love to tell us over and over again about who we are in His eyes. To have victory over His enemies by telling us true things and solidifying true things in us. So I would even say insecurity, I can easily envision situations where that results in very God-honoring things, very wonderful things. Isn't that a relief? If you deal with it often, dwell on that. You don't have to have everything put together all the time. And if you're catapulted into a state of who am I, which I guess I'll talk about in the next video because you haven't seen that. I don't think I addressed it in the last one. If you're catapulted into that state, it can just as well be beautiful as bad. So that's part 2. Okay, so maybe go on to the effects of insecurity now.